a writer, and this is like a little writing vlog where I'm gonna work on chapter 2 of Project H. We're almost, not quite, but almost at the end of February, and I won't have like heard back from my querying first batch until at least like the first week or so into March. So I'm kind of just trying to keep going and to keep being sort of consistent with my writing. I hadn't written consistently in a really long time, but for the past week or so I have been. The very first chapter, the very first chapter was done. Hi. There's now a cat in the room. But yeah, the first chapter was done, and I think the second chapter I did like a little tiny bit, but I didn't do a lot. I just did yesterday about 400 words maybe, and I think basically the aim for today is to get chapter 2 finished if I can. If not, I'm aiming for about 1,000 words a day. I think that's super doable. I think that 1,000 words a day is something that it shouldn't take me very long, so even on the days where I don't have as much time for whatever reason. I'm starting at about 3:30, and I try to be finished by 6 because that's when I like to start reading for the day. So we're gonna try and get 1,000 or so words done, and then basically chapter 2 is in the Save the Cat format, which I've kind of used for the first time with this book because I feel like it's such, like, I'm trying to make it complex. Like, it's got 4 main characters. It's like hard for me to do it, I think, without any kind of professional help. So I'm using Save the Cat, and that means that I'm writing the catalyst and the debate section of that format in chapter 2. And then chapter 3, I think it's called Break Into 2, but it's where basically stuff happens. And so it's still kind of in the setup stages, like it's still moving kind of slowly, but it's picking up the speed a little bit. Like, it's less normal now. The first chapter ended, everything was fine, the theme was there, like you could very clearly see, oh, I get that, that's probably going to be the point of this, huh? But also, like, nothing had really happened. It was very much like a normal, like a sort of slow entry into this world, so that you could kind of see what kind of technology was going on, what kind of powers these girls might have. I didn't want to show off too much of that. Like, I've not tried to hide it, but I don't want to have it be like, oh, and then this person does this and it looks really cool, when there's going to be scenes where I can show that off properly coming up. And I think I'm going to do the same for chapter 2 and have it just be kind of like basically this is something that's happened and this is like what they're going to do about it, and then it cuts off before anything actually properly happens. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take you along with me. just literally like finished writing now. I'm gonna take these off because I have a feeling that they're reflecting. But yeah, I just finished the second chapter of Project H, which I think was actually a lot easier to write than the first one, probably because most of the setup was in the first one, and it was like trying to figure out this world. I'm still not sure if I know these characters in terms of like their speech patterns and stuff, but I think it can take me a while sometimes to figure that out anyway. Like, I would rather write something and then end up being like, this is not how they talk, than write nothing. And I think that was what was getting me at first, was I was like, is this something that is what I want it to say? And I basically took the sort of decision out of my own hands and just kept going anyway. And so I went from not really thinking that I was going to get much done to writing more than 2,500 words. I'm saying that I don't know the exact number anymore because I've forgotten it, even though it was literally like in front of me like 10 seconds ago. But yeah, I think the second chapter basically is it's not the setup chapter, but it's one of the things where like the catalyst happens and then they prepare to go and deal with that, and then they're moving now. They're literally on a plane that's going to take them to Florence, where they'll like have the first major bit of the story. So it's preparing for that, which is really fun. And also it got to sort of the point where I needed to like show stuff off in terms of like, if it's about superheroes basically, then their suits, their weapons, the stuff that I think is kind of like visually very interesting about this. And so it was a pretty decent chapter to write, and I ended up writing, when I got past like the initial, is this good? It felt like it fell into place very quickly and very easily, and I didn't think I was going to get that done today. Also, I'm at, I think, between 7,000 and 8,000 words. I'm aiming to get 10k in February. That's like my goal, is to get like 10k every month, because I think that that's more attainable. When I was writing the first draft of Formation Lab, I did, I think, about 30k to 40k in a month. Like, I would challenge myself to do that much. And if I wrote as much as I did today, obviously that would be super easy. But I'm aiming not just for like high numbers every day, I'm aiming to write every day and get like an attainable number done, so that if I have days where I'm busier or days where I'm just really not in the mood, it's not like a sudden, because I think that with me, like, if I don't read a book, like, I'm still reading this book, right? Sorry. I'm still reading this book. I'm reading this for a reading vlog, which I think I said in the last video that I posted, and I'm still going with it. I think it's going to be done soon because I only have 120 pages left, and I think I'm going to try and get that done tonight because I was reading it last night and I was super interested. But consistency. It is a 650 page book. If I said that I was going to try and read it in a week, I could probably, if I made more time for reading than I do currently. But if I read 50 pages a day, if I read for about an hour every day, it gets finished within a few weeks, which I think is still better than if I sort of burn myself out by trying to do loads in one day, because I was like worried about hitting a really high word count and making every day seem super impressive, rather than just having it be about making sure that I'm setting time aside to think about these projects that I'm working on, which is the main thing, is that I need to remind myself that like, this is something that isn't gonna just get done. I am the only person who can do this. And yeah, it could be easy at times for me to kind of ignore it and to think, well, I'm not in the mood to write today. But there have been days where I've thought that, and then I've sat down anyway, and then I've gotten 2,500 words written. And I think that it really is just about learning to sort of try it every day. If you don't have the time, fine. But then if you do it every day on the days where you don't have time, it's less of a slump inducing moment, because it's not, well, I've just missed a day after I've been doing such like a good streak. It's okay, well, I missed a day, but I've been so consistent that it doesn't really matter, like I'm still above my targets. So I think for me it's like I need to try and be consistent in how often I do this rather than in how many words I write, because that's how you get stuff made, is to do a little bit every day rather than to do big bursts, lose all of your energy, and then not touch it for a month. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically that's how my brain works, is that it needs to be, like, it's a routine now that if I don't read at the end of the day, if I don't, like, if I go into my reading time, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm not reading right now. Like, it's my time to read, I want to read. And that includes if I'm writing. So I think that the same was said with my writing with Formation Lab. I got to a point where when I was like editing that and I was like taking breaks from that, I was writing so many short stories, because I needed something writing to sort of take my focus, I guess. And then also, I had like a bunch of planned novels that aren't this one. Like, I wasn't going to touch this one until I was like, you know what, I'm in the mood for it, which is not surprising considering the state of the world right now. I think that this kind of, it fits in a lot with the themes that are common right now in the world especially, so it makes sense that it was like the one that felt right. But also I have a romantic comedy that I've like done a bit of planning for. I have a, I don't even know what genre it would be yet, but like a sort of Sex and the City inspired duology that I've got planned, quite enough that I could, like, if I was to jump into the proper planning of it, it would be pretty easy. I wouldn't have to worry about like the character names and all that sort of stuff. I then have one that I've planned out again quite heavily, which is, I actually have like a post that I'm gonna make where it's like the writer and then her characters, and it's, I think I've called it, because the romantic comedy is Project Pun, I think it's Project History. But it's a really interesting one, but that one's one that I'm gonna have to do a lot of research for, because as the name might suggest, historical. It's very much taking from real things that have happened, and I need to be very careful with the way that I portray them. And I don't want to like assume that I know something. Like, I want to make a lot of effort to sort of educate myself. I think one of the ones on that, I might have gotten rid of it actually. I don't know. I've done my one, like my, because it's like an aesthetic post with the character in the middle, and then it's just the 8 like things around it. 8, yeah, it's 8. So I've done my one for that, and I'm pretty happy with my one. But I need to do the character ones, and I've started Hermia's, which is, she's my main character from this project. But yeah, anyway, it went well. It's something that I want to keep doing a lot. I think that I notice a difference when I'm not doing it, because I kind of, if I'm consistent, when it exits my life, I'm like, oh my god, this is missing from my life, and so I want to keep going. And I think that's good, because it is really easy if you don't do it for a few days or weeks or months to just keep not doing it. So that's why I'm not doing it, and it does definitely change the way that I sort of view it and the way that I'm like eager or not eager to do it. Basically, this chapter has made me excited. It was very fun to do. I got carried away with the word count, and now I'm kind of moving forward for chapter 3 tomorrow with a lot of happiness and eagerness for it. And that's what I wanted. That is what I wanted from this, was to be happy and excited about it, and to feel that sort of like joy at this book that I've had in my mind for the past like decade just finally becoming real, So yeah, that's from me, and bye.